Welcome back into the Morning Rush. Going to the phone lines, welcoming in Corey Evans, basketball analyst at Rivals this morning. Corey, thanks for making some time for us on the Morning Rush, man.
No, most definitely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So you've talked about how David Patrick, the godfather of Ben Simmons, already got a bunch of connections here in the U.S. and in Australia. They've actually already offered a kid out of Australia, the Arkansas Razorbacks. What is he going to bring to the Arkansas basketball program?
Yeah, just that alone. I mean, he has a great background and knowledge and the networking base in Australia. As the primary recruiter for Patty Mills and Dellavedova at St. Mary's, and then Ben Simmons and Quad Noy at LSU. So all around, his extensive network and even running his own program at UC Riverside, I think it's a giant pickup for Eric Musselman in Arkansas basketball.
Corey, you mentioned Dellavedova, NBA champion, Patty Mills, NBA champion with the Spurs. I know a lot of Eric Musselman's pull with these high school kids is, hey, look at my NBA background, look at the connections I have here, look at the connections I have here. How important is that going to be when Coach Patrick's going to be recruiting these kids, say, hey, look at what I've been able to do with some of the kids in my past?
I'm not sure if it's surpassed winning a national title, but it's right up there. It's about how can you help me achieve my dreams, and that's the NBA. And when you have someone like Dave Patrick, who's been around the block a few times with LSU and even St. Mary's, and him sharing a prior background at LSU with Musselman, and Musselman's pedigree at Nevada, and also coaching in the NBA and the D League, there's definitely credible, tangible, physical background there that, hey, these guys, they can help get to me where I want to be. That's the NBA.
Give us some more background on their relationship. A little surprised they got a little bit of difference in age. Coach Patrick's 44. Muss is, I think, 56 now. They got the tie at LSU. Give us a little more insight, or what do you know about their paths crossing other than at LSU in the West Coast?
Yeah, definitely Australia. They share a connection over in Australia, and Dave Patrick's actually one of the men responsible for the hiring of Musselman at LSU with Johnny Jones when those guys shared a coaching staff together for a year or two there in Baton Rouge. It's pretty funny how it all works around when, now Musselman's the one hiring David Patrick away from Riverside. So it's just funny how it works, but, whatever it might be, it's a tremendous pull for Musselman.
Corey, were you surprised at all the amount of money that Coach Patrick was given to be an assistant, considering, just the environment we're in with coronavirus and the financial uncertainty of the future college athletics? $400,000 a year. If he stays 2 years, he gets $1 million. That's a pretty good price tag for an assistant coach.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to pull someone like David Patrick, who's a sitting head coach, unless it's the right money is there. And also, of course, the proper infrastructure that Arkansas can offer, which they offered both. That was monumental in having David walk away from running his own basketball program, which is something that, for most in the business, they get in the business to run their own program. So to have someone walk away from doing that and being their own boss, it's going to take some money. But, kudos to Musselman, to get that money and that monetary amount to pull him away, because, like I said, it's a major, major coup, because just his name and to have a guy like that on the market that wasn't really available, that most assumed, it's big.
Corey, I want to get in some recruiting questions with you. A couple players that Arkansas is after. Damian Collins, got a chance to watch him play. Big man, can do a couple different things. What are your thoughts about Arkansas's chances landing Damian Collins?
Yeah, they're definitely in there. It took a little bit of bump there with Crutchfield leaving. Crutchfield was the lead recruiter, of course, dating back to his Oklahoma days, and with Damian running with the Team Griffin program that's based out of Oklahoma. I'd say Oklahoma and Texas are the two teams to beat. Texas was dream school growing up, but Musselman and his staff and Corey Williams, they haven't laid off the gas pedal there. Damian, rightfully so. Damian's a tremendous long-term prospect. He's 6'9". He's long, bouncy, athletic. Can play different spots in the front court. They're gonna hang in there. I'm not sure I'm willing to bet on them, but they're definitely investing the right time and attention with them.
Jalen Ricks, kid out of Sylvan Mills, now playing at the prestigious Oak Hill Academy. Arkansas's had titles with them, obviously being an in-state kid. What's the latest with Jalen Ricks?
Yeah, Jalen's a guy that is probably the next man up from the state in 2021. And just like what Musselman did, he showed last year, I'm going to keep the best guys in the state, which he did. I mean, he got Devontae Davis and KK Robinson, Jalen Williams, and Moses Moody. And Jalen's the next guy up. I think he still has some room for growth to get better and be more consistent. But he goes to Oak Hill Academy, was school teammates with KK Robinson last year, and definitely the pull is there. I think A&M is definitely heavily involved in the mix. But for as good as a chance that A&M has, I think Arkansas is right there as well.
Last recruiting question on a specific kid, Harrison Ingram out of Dallas St. Mark's. Yep. This is a guy that Arkansas fans would really love to see in a Razorback uniform. Pretty much got offers all over the country, Stanford, UNC, wherever. Where do you see him playing college basketball, Corey?
Yeah, right now most of the talk has surrounded Stanford and Purdue for him. Michigan's definitely made a late run. I would definitely monitor Duke. Duke has begun to show some greater interest in him. He has some Justice Winslow dimensions about him, especially being a Texas kid. But, Musselman definitely has made him a priority above all else, had him on campus already last year. So, again, not sure I'm willing to bet on Arkansas with that one, but I would say they're probably top 5 or top 6 for him.
Corey, can you give us some insight on these prep academies like Oak Hill, like Montverde, like IMG? You mentioned Jalen a moment ago, KK Robinson, Moses Moody went to Montverde. How does that work? How does it financially work for these kids when they move from one state to the other? Give us some insight on the process of a kid going to one of these prep academies like I just mentioned.
Yeah, man, it honestly is like college before college. And these kids are receiving pretty much full scholarships to attend that program and had room and board paid for, the gear, food, housing, all that stuff, and the coaching, of course, and just the platform. I mean, for as much as these kids have become accustomed to being around each other during the summer months, during the travel season with the Nike EYBL, Adidas Gauntlet, and the Under Armour Association. Same way now with high school basketball. Oak Hill, IMG Academy, Hillcrest Prep, Prolific Prep, Montverde, list goes on. It's about 20, 25 teams that are just traveling the nation week by week during the winter months and competing it out. And they're on the platform, and they have ESPN or CBS Sports or whoever it might be televising their game.
Yeah. Did you get to see the Montverde team this year with Moses Moody?
Yes.
And was that the best prep team you've ever witnessed, whether it was summer ball? Tell us what you saw when you watched them play.
Yeah, it's the best I've seen. And when we're talking about Moses Moody is maybe the 5th best player on that team, where anywhere else he'd be the number 1 guy, clear and definitively. It's impressive. We're talking about Cade Cunningham, who's the number 1 player in America and the potential number 1 prospect to be taken in a 2021 NBA draft. Scotty Barnes, who's a top 5 player in 2020, going to Florida State. He'll be a lottery pick. Deron Sharp is a top 10 prospect in 2020, going to Carolina. Caleb Houston's a top 5 prospect in 2022. We have Moses Moody, of course. Derek Whitehead, who's a top 15 prospect in the 2022 class. Ryan Nemhard, a top 75 player, going to Creighton in 2021. That's a top 7, top 8 that I hate to say it, but they probably could have beat some high major basketball programs last year.
Rivals basketball analyst Corey Evans here on the Morning Rush. And Corey, bring that up. We had a chance to talk to your colleague and your coworker, Kristen Peak, and she said that's the best high school basketball team she's ever seen. And it is not out of the realm of possibility to imagine that team, even though they're high school kids, potentially getting close to an NCAA tournament bid, which is insane to think about considering those guys are still in high school this past season.
Yeah, you honestly have, like I said, with Barnes and Sharp and Cade, 3 guys that don't even need college. They could have arguably been selected in this year's lottery of the 2020 NBA draft. And like I said, with the coaching of Kevin Boyle, and he's throwing Moses Moody and Caleb Houston, Derek Whitehead, and Nemhard, top to bottom, you have talent, athleticism, size, length, shooting, athleticism, all that. And it was a tremendous ride, tremendously fun team to watch week by week. They were very rarely in any basketball games just because they were that good.
Corey's a guy that covers college basketball, NBA, and a bunch of different high school level. And when you think about Arkansas basketball and really just the past year or so that Eric Musselman has been here, in just 1 year, Corey, how would you characterize how Eric Musselman has gone about recruiting for the Arkansas basketball program?
Yeah, and Moss has done a great job of kind of shifting his own recruiting philosophy, and that's, devoting more time to the high school realm. And appropriately so, he knew that he wasn't going to get those guys like a Moses Moody or a Jalen Williams out of high school. Yeah, he did get Jordan Brown, but for the most part, he had to go the transfer route. And the fact now that he is adding the top talent from the transfer realm, as in a Justin Smith, or a Tate, alongside a Moody, a Williams, a Robinson, you put 2 and 2 together, and I think it will mesh just because of, we talked about Musselman's background with the D-League and overseas and in the NBA, where summer by summer, year by year, your roster is going to turn over, and that's what college basketball is becoming. It's more of a year-by-year basis compared to every other few years with recruiting cycles. And with the advent of the transfer realm and transfer portal, next to Fred Hoiberg, Eric Musselman has become the mastermind of that.
Hey, Corey, not having the summer basketball, not having EYBL, having the extended dead period where coaches could not evaluate this summer, how difficult does it make the job evaluating 21s and also the 2022 class at this point?
For me, I had a general feel for the 2021 class. Of course, we're going to have about 10 or 20 guys that always kind of pop up out of the woodwork, and, other guys that might be top 100 prospects and evolve into 5-star blue blood prospects. More so 2022. But for the college guys, it's more so of 21. I mean, they were devoting most of their time towards the college season when I was giving my time to the 2021 class. But I will say this, for Arkansas, it might hurt them a little less because they had a general consensus of who the best was from their area. And more so going back to the transfer realm, I mean, for programs that rely more on the transfer realm and transfer portal, the high school level and not knowing who's good, that's not going to affect them as much.
What's the better deal for the top shelf players, the handful of 5-stars that are the upper crust of that, to go to the G League and get that money right away, or go to a high-level college program like a Duke, like a Kentucky, like a Kansas that's on TV every night? What's the better long-term deal? Getting the branding on TV every night in college basketball, or the $500,000 or so you'll get in the new G League setup?
I'm glad you brought that up, the branding and the platform of playing these games. And let's not swipe under the rug just how important that is. And, I love Zion, but Zion isn't going into the NBA as the one-word name Zion to everyone if it wasn't for Duke. And, $5,000, that's a lot of money to say no to. So I'm never going to poo-poo anyone for taking that money. But for how good Jalen Green is going to be, in my mind, who took the G League route, that $500,000 is going to pale in comparison to what he could be making and should be making in 5-6 years. So you have a guy like Cade Cunningham who decides to stick to the college route, the platform, and just having that college experience, the last maybe bit of your life that you can be a kid. I think the college and what that can offer outweighs the G League, in my mind at least.
Yeah. So, Corey, let me ask you something, because I think you and I differ. You're more on with Tommy on this camp, and you and I differ on the Zion stuff. Do you think Zion would be a top 5, top 3, number 1 overall pick or not for Duke? Or do you think he wouldn't have the same type of success if he just went to the G League or if he was allowed to go straight to the NBA?
I think he may have been top 5, but he would not have been consensus. You're stupid. You need to pick a number 1 if it wasn't for college basketball.
I think that's fair.
People didn't see Zion Williamson in high school and how overweight he was and the questions about that still linger of his overall durability. Yeah. We're talking about the guy that we are legitimately comparing to LeBron James. And for the first time ever, there's actually someone who physically and tangibly can be on that level as a Zion Williamson compared to, is he a first overall draft pick? Is he top 5, which he may have been if he would have been in the G League.
And you just can't replace the exposure of playing 30 games a year on national TV at Duke. I mean, a shoe blows out and the world stops because it happened to Zion at Duke. He became a household name across the country because
you said
he played at Duke.
You said he's not a household name yet.
So if he doesn't play at Duke, it's a whole different argument. I'm asking Corey. That's what turned him into the star he became. Is Duke? If he goes to the G League, he's a star there, but he's not a national presence.
In my mind, undoubtedly. And I was one of the biggest believers of Zion Williamson in high school, and even I could not have seen him being what he was thanks to Duke. And we're even talking about Zion Williamson the prior August when they went on their Canadian national tour, off-season tour. And for guys like Jalen Green, they're out of the spotlight. I mean, they're not being discussed. I mean, we're talking about Cade Cunningham right now. We're not talking about Jalen Green. Even those two are on the same platform as talented prospects. The platform is there more for Cade Cunningham to gain compared to Jalen Green to gain.
Cade is elected to stay at Oklahoma State despite them having sanctions and not being able to play in postseason this year. Then Jalen is elected to play in that G League situation. On that note, is it one of those things that you think that's going to affect their NBA career, that you think Cade's going to have a better NBA career just because of his decision to go to school and college?
Honestly, I don't. You know, of course, a lot goes into where he's selected and what type of role and the maturity and all that. But, again, it goes back to Zion. Even if he does not go to Duke and he doesn't receive that notoriety and that platform, he's still Zion Williamson. He's still, I mean, it's just fate. And I think either way, Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham, though they are taking different paths to get to the same point, I do believe that stardom is ahead for both.
Corey Evans, basketball analyst at Rivals. Corey, we appreciate you making some time for us on the Morning Rush, man.
No, most definitely. Thanks for having me on, guys.